What we're looking at here is eastern poison ivy growing up an old ash tree that was killed by the emerald ash borer. So that these vines that you see here are eastern poison ivy vines. The scientific name for that species is Toxicodendron radicans. It means the branches that have a radical toxin. And so really it's not just the branches, it's all of the plant will secrete a toxin that is called urushiol, which causes an allergic reaction. So here in Morris, Michigan, we have the eastern poison ivy species. If you go north in Michigan, you will find the western poison ivy species, Toxicodendron rydbergii. So down here we see that we have the vine form, we also have the small woody plant form, we can also have fairly large shrubs. The western poison ivy species north of us, you will just find these small woody plants. So this oil that is secreted is called urushiol, and what it does is it modifies the receptors on our epithelial cells, our skin cells, so that our own body reacts to those cells as if they're foreign. And so an immune reaction is launched where our body tries to attack those cells, and from that you get the itchy, burning rash, and then eventually maybe even the watery blisters as well. Some folks believe that that water in those blisters can cause the rash to be spread to other parts on the body or even other people. That is a myth. The water in those blisters is mostly just that, just water. It's really the oil, urushiol, that you have to get off of you. And since it's an allergic reaction that takes a couple days to get going, folks think that as the rash spreads, it's from itching those blisters. But really, it's just the time that's needed for that immune reaction to take place. So the best way to get this oil off you is to scrub vigorously. So if I've been out cutting wood and I believe I've come into contact with poison ivy, then what I do is I take a shower as soon as I can afterwards. I use Fels naphtha soap and a washcloth and just scrub that area of skin vigorously. Think of it as when you work on a vehicle and you get oil or grease on you, it's hard to get it off. This oil is the same way. You really have to scrub to get it off. Now, the best way to get rid of this plant, if it's causing problems, is to cut the vines. And so if you look at these hairy vines, by the way, this is a great way to identify poison ivy. We have in Michigan other plant species that will vine up trees like this, but they won't be hairy like you see here. For example, Virginia creeper or wild grape will both vine up, but they won't be hairy like this. Sometimes it will form smaller vines to try to keep growing after you cut the major vine there, but if you cut it and keep cutting it, sometimes you can get rid of that plant. If you're combating the small woody plants or the shrubs or even these vines once they leaf out, this one hasn't, and it probably won't because I cut these. But a good way to get rid of that form is to spray it with a herbicide like glyphosate. And so if you spray the leaves, the foliage, it'll absorb that glyphosate into the plant, and sometimes that will help to kill it, get rid of it as well.